Today's scripture is Mark chapter 10, verses 46 through 52. Now they came to Jericho, and I'm reading from the New King James Version. As he went out of Jericho with his disciples and a great multitude, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the road begging. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out loud and say, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Then many warned him to be quiet, but he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. So Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called. Then they called the blind man, saying to him, Be of good cheer, rise, he is calling you. And throwing aside his garment, he rose and came to Jesus. So Jesus answered and said to him, What do you want me to do for you? The blind man said to him, Rabboni, that I may receive my sight. Then Jesus said to him, Go your way, your faith has made you well. And immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus on the road. Just going to do a few highlights. Hopefully this won't turn into a sermon. So number one that stood out to me is this man was going about his daily stuff. It says that he was on the road. He sat by the road begging. And when he heard Jesus, he began to cry out. So he stopped doing what he normally does, and he starts to cry out. So what that spoke to me was that when we are, on the outside, we can look like we are, stuck in our routine and still okay with doing the day-to-day stuff that we've been doing, kind of stuck in that rut. But when we hear that there is someone and specifically in the person of Jesus Christ, because Jesus was well known in the region. He was known for healing, doing miraculous things. And so some of us have been pushing ourselves through our day-to-day, pushing ourselves through secretly, inwardly, hoping for a miracle or a set of miracles, any miracle. And so when we are reminded, because those of us who are believers, sometimes we need to be reminded of who Jesus is and that he is present and that he is waiting for us. He's coming through. He wants to visit with us. We stop everything that we're doing and we cry out to him. Lord, help me. Lord, have mercy on me. That's all this man was wanting. He wanted mercy. He knew Jesus had the power and could do. And so another thing that speaks out to me is the fact that at first the crowd was trying to shut him up, and how that relates to me in my everyday life. I'm crying out to Jesus, and people around me, we are in a society now that is not just Jesus immune or numb, but now Jesus is an offense to them. And so anyone who represents Jesus, you are not necessarily welcomed. Your Christianity has a taint to it. And so now, you start saying, Jesus, help, Jesus, help. You will get, silenced. It's like, shh, don't even. That's an imaginary person. What are you doing? And so even though the tenor is a little bit different now, as far as the reasonings why back then, they felt like Jesus was just celebrity and you can't bother Jesus. That's why they did it to him. But now it's, no, we don't want to hear anything that sounds like Jesus, because that person, well, the person that's been represented to the world as Jesus really isn't Jesus, because um, anyway, that's a whole nother speech. But so they don't want to hear that. So we're crying out, we're looking around for help, and we see Jesus, we've heard about him. And so now we're crying out and we're being told to stay quiet. But just like that didn't quiet blind Bartimaeus, it should not quiet us. We cry all the more, and then Jesus stopped. That's the third thing that stands out. He stopped. Have you ever cried out to God, cried out to Jesus, and just felt like instantly there was a presence that came over you? You made him stop. Sometimes I believe that we can cry out in such a way, and it can be so impassioned that it makes Jesus stop. And then look at the next thing he does. He asks, "What would you have me to do for you?" And the man said to him, "Rabboni, that I may receive my sight." Now, of course, a lot of us, we may be sighted, even though age is taking some of our sight away, but we are still able to see. So that may not be the question that we're asking, to have our physical sight restored, but some of us are asking for restoration in other areas of our lives. And so look at what Jesus says for that, because this applies even to us. It says, "Go your way." Then Jesus said to him, "Go your way. Your faith has made you well." And immediately, without delay, immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus down the road. So, what does that speak to us today? Our faith will make us well. A lot of times, our miracle that we're waiting for, our breakthrough that we're waiting for, it is embedded in our faith. So once we demonstrate that faith, just like blind Bartimaeus did, crying out to God, that impassioned plea that stops Jesus, and he is listening for us, all we have to do is then exercise our faith. And as it says in Hebrews, without faith, it is impossible to please God. So I pray that today God will help us to work our faith, to stand strong on our faith, to cry out to him in faith, so that we can immediately receive our sight, spiritual sight, or whatever it is that we are seeking and trusting him for.